Today I'm going to show you step by step how I made this in Nomad Sculpt. I also used Procreate for the 3D painting and Blender for the final render. This is a beginner-friendly tutorial. However, if you have never used Nomad Sculpt before, I recommend watching some other tutorials first before trying this. And also checking out this video where I briefly talk about everything you need to know when you're opening the app for the first time. First, I'm going to model and sculpt the toppings, then the bread slice of the French toast. After that, I will show you how to create the textures in Procreate. Lastly, the composition, lights, and rendering. The first thing we're going to do is create a new project. You can do that by clicking on the folder icon in the left top corner. And then there's a button that says new, and then you can create a new file. Then what we are going to do is delete the first object that you see, because this object is always bigger than the other objects that you're going to add later. To delete the object, click on the layer button in the right left corner, then click on the three dots and click the trash icon to delete. As you can see, this pop-up means that I have autosave on, which means that every 10 minutes the project will be saved. You can enable this by going to the file settings, click on the folder icon and scroll down to the autosave section. Check this box and choose your preferred timing. This is very important because you don't want to lose any of your hard work. I'm just going to call the project French toast. The first topping that we're going to make is the blueberry. So we're going to click on this add button and then we're going to click on the sphere. Then we're going to close this layer section by clicking the layer button. Then we're going to look at the object settings by clicking on this button. We're going to lower the subdivision. So you can see that as I move the bar lower, the less points are on the object. And in general, we want the lowest amount of points possible because this will make sure that our file size stays small. So we're going to just leave it at 3. And if we need more details later, we can just add those later. So we're going to close the object settings. Then we're going to validate this object. You can only sculpt on the object after validating it. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. We're going to snap the view to the front. So just click the blue side of the cube to snap to the front. And then I'm going to scale the object because blueberries are very small. So we're just going to scale it a little bit. And if you click on the gizmo tool, you can actually see how much you scaled it. So now it's scaled by 0.5. And you can again drag this and then it gets bigger and smaller. And we're gonna deselect the gizmo tool because we don't want to accidentally scale it more or move it. And then we're gonna make the top of the blueberry. The blueberry is round and on the top there's like a few circles. It's hard to explain, but we're gonna make a stylized blueberry and it's very easy. So we're gonna click on the symmetry button, which is this button here. We're gonna make sure that in the planes, the X plane is selected and we're gonna increase the radial Y to 8. Just drag this until you get to 8 and then let me show you what it does. So now if we go to the move tool and we make it smaller. If you try out the brush by moving the brush upwards, you can see that there's red dots in a circle. This is the symmetry effect and that's what we want. However, these points are too spiky right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to undo all of this. Just tap twice until everything is gone. We are going to click on the button next to the layer button. In the multi-res section, click on the subdivision button a few times, once or twice. And if you click on the wire, which is on the bottom, you can see how many points there are. I'm just gonna leave that on for now. And then use the move tool to create little dots on the top. Something like this will be good. And then we're gonna click on the smooth the points a little bit. And then we're gonna go to the move button again, make it a little bit bigger. And the middle of all of those points, we're gonna drag that down by pushing it down. And then we have our blueberry, that's already it. I'm going to move this up and then we're gonna go to the next topping, which is the strawberry. For now, I'm just going to hide it. So click on the layer button and then you can click on the eye and then it disappears. We're gonna add a new object, which is the sphere. We're gonna close the layer panel. Same as the blueberry, we're going to scale it so that it's a bit smaller. And I'm going to scale it again 0.5. Then we're going to validate the object. For the strawberry, we want the top of it to be flat and we want the bottom to be a little bit pointy. Symmetry is on and we're going to go to the move tool. If we try to create a point, this is what we get, and you can see that it's not even. To fix this, we're going to click on the symmetry button in the right top corner. We're going to make sure that the X-plane is turned on and we want the radial Y to be 2. Now if we move it downwards, you can see that it's an even. Even if we move to the right, you can see that all of it went down. I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to make the move tool bigger and we're going to move the bottom down. It should be a little bit more pointy, so I'm going to move it inwards. Check on the front. And now we're going to flatten the top. We can use the flatten tool, but we're going to stay with the move tool. Same as before, we push the top down just a little bit. The last thing we're going to do for the basic ship is just a little bit of smoothing. We're going to click on smooth edge. If you don't have this, go watch this tutorial by, I don't remember his name. I'll put it on the screen and in the description. Go watch that and then you'll have this tool. So we're going to make it bigger and we're just going to drag from the middle outwards. Next, we're going to make little indents in the strawberry. These little indents are for the seeds. We're going to go to the symmetry tool. And we're going to move the radial Y up to 8. We're going to disable the X-plane by tapping on it once. And then you can already use it, make the indents by dragging inwards, like this. It's a little bit blocky, as you can see. I'm just going to voxel remesh it. Click on this button, drag the resolution to 200 and then click remesh. The multi-resolution will be lost, just click OK. To create the indents for the seeds, I'm going to use the brush tool, which is the brush below the move tool. Make the brush size smaller. And then we are going to draw an oval shape. And you can see it goes on the outside and we want to go inwards. So we're going to click on this sub button. Undo. And because of the symmetry settings, there will be 8 indents. Repeat these steps for the other layers, 4 in total, making sure to start each new layer in between 2 of the previous points, also making the hole smaller each layer. You can see that they're not completely even. This is because the object is not fully symmetrical. To fix that, orbit around the object. If you see some inconsistencies, just adjust them by making the indents bigger or smaller by smoothing them out. Now that we have all of the rows, we're going to smooth all of them so that they're less harsh. Go to the smooth tool and then make the tool bigger. Sometimes what happens is that the smooth brush enables the relax, which is on this side here. So if your smooth isn't working, just check that and make sure to check it off by clicking on it. And then we're going to create the seeds for on the strawberry. We're going to go to the layer panel by clicking on the layer button. This might be a good time to actually rename the objects. Otherwise, later on, you'll get confused. And the blueberry. For the seeds, we're going to add another sphere. Click on the add button, then the sphere. Then we're going to make this sphere very small. Can't see it anymore, we're just gonna drag it up. It needs to be even smaller, so we're gonna make it smaller, even smaller. Then we're going to scale it in the length. So drag the green circle up. It should be about the size that your indents on the strawberry are. Then we're going to click validate. Now we're going to duplicate the seed 4 times because we have 4 rows. So we're going to go to the layer panel. I'm going to rename it. We're going to click on the 3 dots and then we're going to clone it, and we're just going to do that until we have 4 in total. We're going to select the first seed. We're going to go out of the layer panel to the gizmo tool, drag it down, then to the side view, move it forward and place it into the indent. Sometimes it's hard to see. If you're having trouble to see where the object actually is, just turn the gizmo tool off for a moment. And I'm also going to rotate it a little bit. We're going to turn on the snap button in the left bar, and we're going to change the 90 degrees to 5 degrees. Just click on it and then type 5. We're going to use the red line to snap it. If you move it very slowly, you'll realize that it's snapping. Next, we're going to create a radial array. This way we can easily fill all of the indents without too much effort. So we're going to click on that seed that we just placed. We're going to go to the layer panel. Then we're going to click on the add button, and the red buttons are the repeaters, and we're going to click on the radial one. And then on the top, you have a few settings and you can see a 4. We're going to drag that until we have 8. Because we have 8 indent. Close the layer panel, drag this until we get 8. You can also click on it and then type. We are not going to validate it yet. First, the other seeds need to be moved into place, and after that you can easily drag them into the radial layer. I think this is the easiest way to do it. Click on the next seed and we're going to move it into place. Make sure to turn snapping off. So I've placed the remaining 3 seeds. And I made the last one a little bit smaller, otherwise it wouldn't fit. We're gonna go to the layer panel and then we're gonna drag each one into the radial. So just tap on it, then hold and move it upwards. If you look in the viewport, all indents are now filled. And you can see that some of them need a little bit adjustment. We're not gonna touch those yet. First, we're gonna validate everything and then we can move the individual seeds. So we're gonna go to the layer panel again. Click on the radial and you can see on the top there's a bar and it says validate. Click validate and we are going to choose the join children option. Now all of that is one object. To move some of the seeds, we're going to use the mask tool. Just scroll down until you see this button. We're going to click on that. And with this, we're going to paint the seeds that need a little bit more adjustment. If you want to make sure that the entire seed is colored, click on the solo on the bottom. Then we're going to click in the viewport once. This inverts the mask. The dark gray colored objects will not be affected, only the mesh color will be affected. We're going to click on the gizmo tool and we're just going to move it a little bit inwards. We are going to repeat the same steps for all of the seeds that need adjustment. To clear the mask, put one finger on the screen and swipe down. Put it on the screen, swipe down, then let go. You can see the mask is clear. If you want to clear the mask with buttons, you can also go to the mask settings. So now that we have the strawberry base and the seeds, we're going to create 2 other variants by slicing the strawberry. First thing we're going to do is duplicate it. We're going to select the strawberry by checking this box, but first let's rename it. We are going to duplicate the strawberry and the seeds. We're going to click on the 3 dots and click clone. Then we're going to drag the seeds upward and you'll get this little yellow line and then we'll just let go. And we're going to do that for each strawberry so that the seeds and the strawberry are connected. Now we can select the first strawberry, check both boxes, then click the gizmo tool in the left bottom corner. We're going to drag it to the side. And then same thing with the other strawberry. So the first strawberry, we're going to just leave it like that. Then we're going to go to the second one, click on it, and we're going to look for the trim tool in the right sidebar. We're going to make sure that the rectangle is selected and the symmetry is off. Then we're going to start creating the rectangle from the right bottom corner and we're going to drag it up until we get about in the middle. We're going to let go and then the strawberry is in half. We're going to repeat the same steps for the seeds. Up to the front, create a rectangle and let go. Now you can see that the edges are a bit rough. To fix this, we're going to click on the strawberry base and then voxel remesh. And it's a lot better. If it's still really rough, you can use the smooth brush to smooth it out. So I realized that it will be easier to use the sliced strawberry to create a quarter one. So I'm going to delete this strawberry and then clone this one. Now we're going to duplicate the strawberry that we just made and we're going to repeat the same steps. To make it easier to see, you can select the last strawberry and click solo. The last thing that we're going to make for the strawberry are the leaves on the top. For this we're going to use the tube tool. It is all the way down on the right side bar. Here, just click on it. And then we're going to click on path. Snap to the front. And we're going to draw a line. Try to make the line as straight as possible. Then we're going to create 2 more dots. One close to the bottom. And then one not in the middle, but a bit lower than the middle. We're going to click on this green dot. And then you get this cylinder. I'm going to tap the radius button 2 times and then you get these dots that you can drag out. And since it's the leaf, we want the top to be pointy, the middle one to be a little bit big, and the bottom ones to be very narrow. I think this should be fine. If you rotate it around, you can see that it's not a flat leaf, but we're going to fix that by trimming it. So we're going to click validate, then go back to the front. Search for the trim tool again. And we're going to do the same thing as slicing the strawberry, but this time we're going to need the symmetry because we want both sides to be trimmed. Click on the symmetry button and again make the rectangle and let go. Fix the edges by voxel remeshing. Right now the leaf is really flat, so we're going to bend the leaf. For this is best to turn the symmetry off and push the middle outwards. The line in the middle of the leaf or the inside of the leaf, we want it to be carved. So if you select the clay brush and then make it very small, you can see that it adds and we want to carve. So we're going to click on this sub button. And then we're just going to draw a line in the middle like this. Smooth it out, especially the top and the bottom. And then for the outside of the leaf, we want to add a line. So we're going to go to the brush tool, because this brush tool creates more of a bubble and the clay brush creates more of a square. And if you draw on the leaf, you can see that it already adds, so we don't need to click the sub button. Quite big, but we want that because otherwise it will disappear when we smooth it out. So now we can smooth it out and it will still give us a nice line, especially the bottom. Smooth it out, the top. Now of course this leaf is way too big, so we're going to scale it down and then clone it a few times to get enough leaves on the strawberries. Select the gizmo tool, scale it down, should be really small. And we're also going to rotate it. We want to rotate that way, so we're going to use the blue line. First, select the snap. This will make sure that it automatically snaps 90 degrees. So we're just going to drag slowly and it will snap. Move it into place. I'm going to clone it 6 times because I want 7 leaves. So click on the 3 dots and click clone button. Now I will start rotating the leaves with a 45 degrees angle to place them in a circle. And after that, I will place the other 3 remaining leaves in between the gaps, also changing the height of the leaves and the size to create more depth. just by cloning them and moving them into place. Moving them into place can be a bit tricky since the arrows change. They're not straight anymore. You can click on this pivot button and click on the center. It gets a little bit better. Click on the pivot again and then you can move it. Before we mix the next topping, we should organize the leaves a bit, because if you open the layer panel, you can see it's quite a mess. So I'm going to start with the smallest amount of leaves, which is this one. Just click on them and then see where they are in the layer. Just check which strawberry this is. It's number 2. Drag this leaf with the other elements of the strawberry and repeat the same steps for all of the leaves. The strawberries are done. I think they look very cute. Now we're going to make the last topping, which is the whipped cream. It's really easy. This one is the easiest topping to make, I think. Now everything is organized and we're going to move on to the whipped cream, which is the last topping. This one is really easy. Again, we're going to use the tube tool. Just search for the tube tool in the bar, right? We're going to choose the path and then we're going to draw a line. Then click on the green button to validate. And we're going to create a triangle. Click on the radius. Make the bottom wider and the top more narrow. Click on this button here next to the twist. We don't need to do anything with this, so just close it. And then we have created kind of like a pyramid shape. Press the twist 3 times and drag the top twist button out, and then you get this swirl. You can already leave it like this, but I'm going to add another point near the top. I'm going to bend this top. Two more swirls, and I'm going to make one more. We can validate whipped cream now. The bottom looks a bit weird, it's not really smooth. So I'm going to add a multi-resolution. Click on the multi-res, and then here you have a subdivide button. Just click that once or twice. The bottom still doesn't look amazing, but it will do for now. Those are all of the toppings. I'm going to hide the whipped cream. First rename them. Now we're going to add a cube or a box. Snap to the front view. I'm keeping the blueberry and the strawberry so that we can see how big the bread needs to be. Scale down the bread a bit because we want a bread slice. I'm going to click on the gizmo tool, just scale it up. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than I want the actual slice of bread to be because we're going to trim it later on. I'm going to hide the blueberries and the strawberries. I'm going to add a cylinder. I'm going to place the cylinder on the top of the bread, and we're going to make sure that it aligns exactly or as close as possible. We're going to duplicate it because we need to. And we're going to make sure that they are not exactly the same so that the bread doesn't look symmetrical. Next, we're going to validate and join all of these objects. But before we do that, I'm going to adjust the subdivision of the object. So if you click the button next to the layer button, which is the object settings, we're going to lower the division and increase the subdivision. And this creates the round edges, which creates a softer look. Now we're going to validate each item and join them together. To join them, select all of them in the layer box and the two cylinders. And on the top, next to the add button, you can see the join button. Click that. It should be joined. So now if you click on the gizmo, you can move the entire bread slice. I'm going to rename this to bread. It's really important to keep it organized. It will be really hard to find where everything in the scene is, and believe me, you will regret it. Now that everything is joined, we're going to voxel remesh. It's not extremely high, but that doesn't matter. We're going to snap to the left or the right view. And then we're going to use the trim tool again. I want to cut the top and the bottom of the bread so that we get a more equal surface. Because you can see there's a line here and you can see the lines of the circles. So we're going to use the trim tool. Going to snap on the left or right viewport. And then there's this button here. It says flip. And basically what it means is that the part that you select with the rectangle is the part that stays, and the part that you don't select will be deleted. If you don't turn on flip, you make the rectangle. What you select gets deleted. But when you select the flip option and you create a rectangle, it will only keep what you have selected. There are still lines and circles, but we're going to remove those by voxel remeshing again. Now you can see the lines are gone. This is how the bread looks now, and to make it even more organic, we're going to create some adjustments by pushing some of the bread sides in and some of the edges out. I'm also smoothing the edges, again to make the object look more soft. Last thing for the bread, we're going to use the mask tool. With this, we're going to make sure that the edges of the bird are higher than the inside, because the inside is softer. So what we're going to do is, we're going to snap to the top. We're going to draw the inside of the bird. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you mess it up, you can just erase it. Make sure that the symmetry is on. And in the symmetry settings, the Y plane is selected and not the X. This way, when you draw on the top, you'll also draw on the bottom at the same time. Now that we have colored in the mask, we're going to tap once to invert the mask. The dark part of the mask is the part that will not move, and the light part, you will be able to adjust it. And I'm going to scale the middle part so that the edges of the bread are a little bit higher. So we're going to click on the gizmo. Then we're going to use the green circle to scale it in, and you can see it moves. That's too much. We're just going to scale it a little bit. Then deselect the mask by going to the mask tool. Tap once and drag down. This might be a little bit tricky. If it doesn't work right away, don't give up, just keep trying. Now, last part for the modeling. We're going to smooth the bread. I'm going to smooth it quite a bit because I think I scaled it a little bit too much. So just keep smoothing. Because the symmetry is still on, both sides have been smoothed out. So the bread is finished. Let's get back all of the toppings by clicking on the eye in the layer panel. Just going to move the bread a little bit down. Like I said in the beginning, we're not going to do the composition yet, because it's important that we do the texturing first. After we are done with the texturing, I will explain why this is, but for now, just trust me on it. So before we can texture the object, we have to make sure that the amount of points on the object are as low as possible. If you turn on wireframe, you can see what I mean with the amount of points. Strawberries have a lot of points because they're really dark when you zoom out, and when you zoom in, slowly start seeing all of the points. So the strawberries are large in file size, and when moving objects between different softwares, different devices, it's really important that the file size is not too big. We have to lower the amount of points for each object. I'm going to start with the blueberry. We click on the blueberry. We're going to go to the voxel remesh button, and then we're going to click on the misc. And here you can see the section that's called decimation. And when you decimate an object, you lower the amount of points. So what we're going to do is we're going to click once. We choose the lowest amount of points, but we also have to make sure that it still looks like a blueberry. And here on the top you can see how many points the blueberry consists, which is about 3000. And when you look at the unwrapping settings, you can see that Nomad tells you that you have to have less than 100,000 points verbal, and our blueberry has this. So now we're going to click on the unwrap button. You can see an image has been created in the background, and that's the image that we're going to be drawing on later on. But for now, we're going to first repeat all of the steps for each of the objects. When it comes to decisions that are made during the decimation and unwrapping and the retopology process, it is important to think about what you want to use your object for. So if you want to use your object for a game, you're not only going to need to decimate it, but you're also going to need to make sure that the topology is nice. I'm not going to go too deep into that. So every object has an UV map now, and then we're going to move each object to Procreate. What we're going to do is we're going to select the object, for example the blueberry. We're going to export it by clicking on the folder button and scrolling down. We're going to click on OBJ. We don't want the vertex colors. We only want one of the objects, the object that is selected, and that's it. We're going to click Export OBJ, and then we're going to search for Procreate. We have this blueberry, and like I said, we're going to import all of the objects in Procreate, and then we're going to paint them one by one. So moving on to the next one. I'm going to put all of the strawberries in one Procreate file. So I'm going to select all of the strawberry items. Sometimes you will get this message that says unsupported model features. I honestly don't really know what that means, but I haven't had any problems painting the object, so I'm not sure why this is here. I'm going to put all of the 3D models that we bring into Procreate in one folder. If you drag this file over this file and then let go, you should have created a folder. Next object, bread. I'm not going to bring the whipped cream in Procreate because those will be white in the end. They will just have a solid color, so we don't need to do any painting. This video is getting pretty long. I'm going to make a part 2 for the texturing in Procreate and the rendering. I hope you liked it, and see you in part 2.